Dana, following on that, in the release from the Senate Democrats, their message center, the first sentence says that this report confirms former White House Press Secretary Scott McClellan's account of how the Bush administration led the nation to war through a propaganda campaign. What's your reaction to that?
I mean, Scott, by his very own admission, wasn't there at the time. He was the Deputy Press Secretary for Domestic Affairs. He has said, as I understand it, that looking back, even though he wasn't there, and reading Bob Woodward's book, this is how he came to his conclusions. So I think that the Senate Democrats and the Republicans took a lot of look, I don't know how well this report would stand up in terms of the processes. I know that the Republicans on Capitol Hill have a lot of beef with how it was done. And so when it comes to Scott, I would just remind you that he was the Deputy Press Secretary for Domestic Affairs. He said that upon reflection, looking back at how the war was packaged, and that's his words, he disagrees with that. That's fine. That's his opinion. It doesn't change the fact that the information that the
on that, with all due respect, press secretaries are authorized to speak for a president. Scott spoke on the war issues even before that happened before he was press secretary, just as you're speaking to the intelligence process and how it was reformed before you became press secretary. And I was unaware that Scott was limited to domestic affairs. I think those of us covered him felt that we could go to him on all manner of
let me be a little bit more precise. The issue is, if I could just, I'll delve a little bit more into the detail of it, is that it's the question of, and I served as the deputy as well. I didn't sit in on national security meetings as the deputy press secretary when I dealt with domestic affairs, and neither did Scott. That's my only point on that, in terms of looking back at issues of 2001 and 2002 and 2003 when intelligence was reviewed. Those are the places where he wasn't, and that's where he wasn't, and that he says that in his book, and he said it in the interviews since.